takes themselves too seriously. And then what's going on with the tequila? Are you guys serious about this? Because now I'm getting...
Don't talk about that right now.
I'm getting 50 emails a day with people
we'll talk about
tequila.
That later.
All right.
Let's talk about it later.
We'll talk about it later. Okay.
I did run a poll asking people if they would try an all-in tequila, and the poll had narrowly won.
Okay.
And then I ran a poll asking what the most they'd ever spent on a bottle was.
Mm-hmm.
If you price it around $200, you can really maximize demand. I think the demand maximizing function is probably around $180, $190 a bottle.
You do not need a majority of people to want to buy your tequila. You just need enough that are willing to pay the right price.
No, I agree. I was just trying to see how much interest there'd be out there. And in this poll, I think it was 41% said they would try it, 40% said they wouldn't. And then the remainder was just kind of, show me the answer.
I think if we don't have advertising ever, but we have a nice sipping tequila, because, I don't drink a lot, but I do like when Sacks gives me a nice
if you
bourbon.
Look at this, guys, 32,000 votes. So if you look at 18.8%, so it's 79% is 200 or less. That's the sum of both of those two cohorts. So like if you priced it at, call it 189, you probably can get 15%. And so, you could probably sell several 100,000 bottles a year. I mean, that's like a pretty real business.
Okay, but I need something smooth, and I like it a little sweet. Is that a problem?
Can I just give you my opinion? Yeah, I think that the thing that people get wrong, just as a consumer, and I think like I'm a pretty discerning consumer, the thing that I don't like is that people focus on all of this window dressing and they don't focus on the core. And the core is that, for example, in wine, there's 7 or 8 rating systems. And over time, if you buy enough wine and taste enough wine, you can really figure out who's good at what. And there's just nothing that replaces a highly rated wine. It's exceptional. And that kind of discernment is now moving itself into tequila. And so I would just encourage us, if we're going to make a bottle, just make it an exceptionally good tasting bottle. And one of the things that I saw in the comments was that people said, oh, you can't differentiate. But then I see some other articles like Comos, which is the one that I tasted at the one and only Mandarina. That was the first 100-point tequila that had ever been given out. And so there are people that are starting to rate it and create these rankings. And if we were going to put out a product, I would err on extreme product quality versus price point.
I invested in a tequila company. I shared this with you guys called 21 Seeds. It was started by my friends, Nicole, Kat, and Sarika. And they spent a lot of time in Mexico finding the right producer, and they put fresh fruit. It's a female niche tequila. So the goal is to create a tequila that will appeal to the female demographic. And they spent quite a lot of time trying to figure out how to actually get the flavor of fresh fruit without using artificial flavoring into the tequila. And so there was this big investment in trying to get this thing to work. This thing worked, it took off, and Diageo bought the company. But it was because they spent so much time on the quality of the product that I think they were successful. And that's, everyone else puts their name and label on a bottle of tequila and says, hey, this is my tequila. But if you don't get the quality right, Chamath is totally right. People don't buy a second time. You got to get it right.
If you look at what The Rock did, The Rock went in a different direction, which is I think he has a very accessible and affordable tequila, which I think makes sense as well. It's just a different strategy. And that also works for The Rock because he has almost 400 million followers. And so he can really play a volume game. But I don't think that that's what we should ever do.
No, we should stand for exceptional quality.
Exceptional quality. And this speaks to something else, which is one of the biggest points of feedback that I get. So for example, I took 3 days. Nat and I took 3 days. We took a little bit of our own little honeymoon away from all the kids, and we went to Villa d'Este just to kind of hang out in Lake Como because I was flying out of Milan, and ran into a few people there. And the consistent feedback that I get from those folks is like, they love hearing about these different places, whether it's different brands, different kinds of wine, all of these things, because all these folks are a little bit left out in the cold now. They don't have like how to live life well. And if you work really hard and you're lucky enough to then also have some amount of success, why should you feel ashamed about it? Why shouldn't you be allowed to enjoy that and actually like pamper yourself and celebrate yourself? And I say, go for it. So if we can find high quality products, like this is the thing, for example, like I think there's different ways of expressing success. When I was poor in wallet, and I was also poor in mind. And then somewhere along the way, I actually became rich in wallet, but I was still poor in mind. And so I would wear these clothes that were gaudy and had these huge labels written up. Terrible. Dior and Balenciaga, all this crap.
God, don't pull that up, man. The haircut looked like Friedberg's. It was disgusting. It was gross.
And then I learned how to be rich in wallet and rich in mind, which is then you go totally brand off and you can actually find things that are just like really well-tailored, well-made. They can be almost generational pieces of clothing or whatever. And I think that it's great that you can find these things and tell other people, because you find that there's a latent, so many number of people that want that. So at Villa d'Este, as an example, that is probably the Harvard of hospitality. I've never been to a hotel that is more on point anywhere in the world than that one place. Incredible, incredible ways in which
say the name of it again one more time.
Villa d'Este, Villa D''Este on Lake Como.
Wait.
I'll give you one simple example. Matt and I were like talking about this one kind of olive oil, and the waiter at the other table heard. He went to the kitchen, brought back, and he said, "Here, I just overheard. I apologize." And I thought, this is incredible. You feel so pampered and loved and taken care of. The level of service and quality there was incredible. And I think that there are so many examples of this where if you can have elements of that in your life, you should do it. By the way, there's a very high chance that this is where I take all of you guys for the All In Summit in 2025.
Oh, okay.
I'm still figuring out all the details.
I'm picking 2024.
But my point is, whether it's Loro Piana, which is, in my opinion, the top of the top in terms of brand off, really high quality clothes.
Look at that place.
The point is, like, there's all these brands that exist that take enormous amounts of time to exemplify craftsmanship and care. And I think that it's appropriate for people who can participate in those experiences to be able to have them and not feel ashamed and actually like enjoy it and celebrate themselves and do it. So let's go. High quality stuff, not shitty, big label, tacky